Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ruckus, and you are listening to Ruckus and The Menace.
And I'm Menace the Menace. And first things first, kind of before we begin, we have a thank you in order. We
Indeed,
thank
we
you
do.
to our dear friends Lam and Mack from Two Nerds in a Pod for their shout out yesterday. Well, yesterday at the time of recording, during their live podcast recording of Two Nerds in a Pod. I have had the blessing of being a guest host for an episode and have also been involved with their Game of the Year project going on in usually at the we record them at the beginning of the next year, and but they pretty much recap the entire calendar year. Guys, if you're listening to this, you know I've been in progress and at work. and for but for anyone who enjoys video game content along with their sports content, very much kind of with that there, I highly suggest you tune into them and their award-winning podcast. Lot Their live shows are on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. on twitch.tv/ two nerds in a pod.
That's
Or
two. That's two. The number two nerds in a pod. No
yep,
spaces.
yep. Or you can pop them on at any time using your podcast listening application. I'm not 100% sure which ones they have completely, but I know for sure that they are 100% on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, which is where I usually will listen to them whenever I would do that. But I'm more oftentimes in the on their live show, like around their live stuff. But to kind of go along with that, with that special thank you in order, Ruckus, how have you kind of been throughout this week?
Um, grinding through, grinding a lot through some MLB The Show. Been playing some Battlefield, trying to get through the weekly challenges. Watching the NBA Finals, which is a very, very close one, which we'll get to later. Watched the Obi-Wan episode 3. I have not watched episode 4 if that has come out yet.
It released today.
Yeah, so whenever you listen to this, it'll have already been out, and I have not seen it yet. So future me will see it tomorrow. Um, Also, another big thing, which in my opinion is big, Mike Trout was picked by me in a Ballin' as a Habit pack, and
Uh, we were on a Discord call when it happened, and I look at him and I just said, "You ended up pulling both players from the Angels collection, which were the big money grabbers, the ones that will hog up all of your time, all of like your well being if for a no money spent player." And he pulls a trap.
yep, and the
Later
one
on that
that's
and later on that night, I pulled the 93 overall Cattell Marte. So while you've had more luck getting live series players, I've had maybe a little bit more success in getting some of the headliners. So fair trade.
yeah, and then like the one that's the second cheapest from Trout is Shohei Ohtani, and then the next one after that is Rafael Iglesias. But yes, I was very happy when I saw that. When I first saw the diamond reveal thing where it was shining and doing all its little special effects, I was like, please don't be a duplicate, because I've had that problem before, and my God, I was excited when I saw the A's, or not the A's, the Angels logo, uh, and saw that, and I was super happy because he's very rare and he costs as much as an Xbox in stubs.
Wait,
It's ridiculous.
doesn't it also turn red?
It turned green for me.
Huh, that's weird. Because I thought that whole background thing it usually turned red whenever it was Trout. But I guess it's green. So it's one of those
I
unique
recalled it
unique
being like a green like tint after the smoke went away. I didn't see any
yeah.
red. I did see
Yeah.
a red Angels logo though.
I know that the Angels logo is red. I just thought the lighting there also was red at the time. But I guess that's how they kind of decide like all of their like different values on
I don't know, but I was just happy
franchises.
nonetheless. But Spennis, what have you been up to, buddy?
Not too much has really changed here. I have watched Obi-Wan. The only thing that I know kind of like was a bummer is that I did have to mess around a little bit with some new Pokemon Snap because while my parents were on vacation, the washer decided to go out,
Oh
or at least
no.
the board. So I had to go to the laundromat to wash. So I ended up getting at least a little bit of time in new Pokemon Snap and doing so. I'm going to be out of town this weekend with my girlfriend, so there's going to be quite a bit going on. I've started a new shift at work, which has me in and out earlier, so more time to focus on other things along the way. I have not watched Obi-Wan episode 4. I do need to get into Miss Marvel, which also came out today. So, but that's another one that my girlfriend and I will be watching together. So I cannot start without her. Priorities, guys. Priorities. But Ruckus, we had a very, very headline heavy week this week. So in honor of that and kind of that, I decided we're gonna blend together the weekly lineup and the high heat together as basically being a full blown headlines type of ordeal. So why don't we go ahead and get started?
All
So
right.
Ruckus, kind of the first thing I want to throw at you here is where do we want to get started?
Do we want to get started on the recent news of major league coaches being fired, like Joe Girardi
Oh,
and Joe Madden?
yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and set her up.
All right, cool. So about a week ago, Joe Girardi had been fired as a manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, and Rob Thompson is now the interim skipper. And the Phillies swept their first series since the firing. Um, and as far as that goes, there was some well, not really backlash, but there was some drama between Bryce Harper, but maybe later we'll get into that. Um,
Oh, that it was a big pop. It was a big pop shot. I didn't hear what Bryce Harper had to say, and I did not mention it in this at the time of when I wrote it down.
I
But
just saw a pop up for it like a bit ago, but it is all good. Joe Madden also being fired as a manager, but of the Oakland or not, not
the
Oakland.
Los Angeles
I
Angels.
was thinking Anaheim Angels, and Oakland just somehow came out of my mouth. Joe Madden has been fired as the manager of the Anaheim Angels in the midst of a 13-game losing streak. Phil Nevin is the interim manager of that club.
Yeah.
Honestly, I joked about it for a little bit the other day, and I wouldn't be like upset if Joe Madden came to Kansas City and they fired Matheny, but at the same time, it's not gonna work. That's not how things work here in the MLB, but I could be wrong.
I think the game and kind of some things have really passed Joe Madden by. Why in the world would you walk a player in with the bases loaded in like a weird situation? Like there were some boneheaded decisions that kind of were putting maybe some writings on the wall that Joe Madden was going to get fired. Girardi, it was just the Phillies weren't playing well. Like that's like some of that could have been like the product on the field.
And to be
But
honest with you, I was when I thought Joe Girardi was gonna be the manager of the Phillies, I was thinking maybe he would turn that club around. And not even Gabe Kapler could turn it around. And the year after that, he got 100 wins with the Giants in his first year. So like, what the hell's going on in Philly?
just not great. Not a lot of great baseball in a town that has been known for it.
And also, the last good thing to come out of them was the 2017 Super Bowl win against the Patriots.
Well, I mean, if you're talking Citizens Bank Park, on the other hand, there was a World Series in 2008, but who's counting?
I'm just counting the city of Philly as far as things have gone right for them.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get to some of the more international sports now. Actually, why don't I throw something along here? Staying in baseball and actually staying with the Angels. Have you seen City Connect jerseys for the Angels?
I have. I stumbled upon it when I was browsing, not on the toilet, on Facebook, looking at the photos for it, and they said they made it sound like it was like a, I don't know if it was supposed to be like a Baywatch kind of thing or what, but it was like
Like
they
a
said.
surf theme.
I thought it looked cool. I don't know if I would like rock it because I'm not really an Angels fan, but I thought it was cool. Like if someone handed it to me on the street and I didn't have to pay like $160 or whatever it would have been, I would have worn it. But I'm not gonna buy it.
I, I like this a lot.
It also brings back. It also reminds me of the throwback jerseys they had for the Anaheim Angels too.
That also, I was almost thinking, like, are they trying to go along with like some sort of like Angels in the outfield theme, or
Yeah,
like kind of going back to like the California Angels type look? But no, they were going with more like the Southern California surf theme. The Angels are a little bit more of like that, kind of have like a little bit more like that affordable like look to them compared to the Dodgers. So this actually looks like a highly, the hat looks clean, the jersey looks clean. This is a rockable uniform for me, and we will soon eventually have this in MLB The Show, so it may get some run.
I also was kind of thinking the same way you were about the California Angels. Because like I was confused at first too. I saw the caption and I thought I didn't know if that was like just a joke when they said "Surfs Up, dude" or I don't. They didn't say "Cowabunga," but like they were like they said something with like "Surfs Up, dude," and I was like, wait, are they trying to like do a Baywatch theme? Or I'm like confused.
No, we are not dealing with either Pamela Anderson or Carmen Electra on a uniform. No,
Dang
no, the
it.
Baywatch theme. No, that is not gonna work. Not gonna work. Nice try. Nice try. But I think this almost has like a little bit more of like a Beach Boys vibe, like the Surfing USA type ordeal, where it's kind of got that. I mean, kind of a lot more of like your high stakes surfing is more in Hawaii, but California is known for a good surfing population. I mean, heck,
Totally.
you had rocket power, for crying out loud.
Totally, man. Now I'm thinking of Crush from Finding Nemo, but that's besides the point.
What? What? Why are we thinking of a turtle?
Because I'm thinking when I see here Surf's Up Dude or totally like I think of Crush the turtle
Or like you,
or
I almost got
G.
thrown off the rails earlier when you were going with the cowabunga thing, because
That
but the,
reminds me of Teenage
but they're
Mutant Ninja Turtles.
New York City, but they're New York City turtles, not California turtles. So this
I mean, they
doesn't
do
work.
have a sewer system though, to be honest, but I don't know if that really connects with anything else. But anyway,
It's the other side of the country. It worked. What am I gonna do with you, Ruckus?
I don't know.
All right. Now that we're not dealing with as many hot temperature things, why don't we go back into the cold? And I am going to update us on the NHL. The series are through 4 games. And the Colorado Avalanche are the first team competing for the Stanley Cup as they swept the Edmonton Oilers. And on June 11th, Saturday, there will be a game 5 between the New York Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, where this series is currently tied. Oh, actually, no. June 9th, tomorrow, will be game 5. 11th will be game 6. And if necessary, on Tuesday will be game 7 of the series between the Rangers and the Lightning to determine who the Eastern Conference will have for the Stanley Cup. And now to get to some of the other outside sports, Rafael Nadal and Iga Swiatek, who defeated Coco Gauff in the final, are your men's and women's champions of the French Open. Lionel Messi scored 5 goals in an international friendly against Estonia with the Argentine national team. And Wales defeated Ukraine on Sunday 1-0 on a deflected free kick scored by Gareth Bale to qualify for the World Cup. The Welsh will join England and the United States in Group B of the World Cup, which will be played later this year. Another one that I'm going to throw in here is that the LIV Golf Invitational Series has picked up 9 total golfers from the PGA Tour. 3 of the notable names are Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, and Bryson DeChambeau. So really a lot of those kind of smaller sports had some major movement as well.
Speaking of major movements, Alex Mack and Man, I cannot speak today. Ryan Fitzpatrick officially retired from the NFL. Ryan Fitzpatrick being a very big name in the past few years, being Ryan Fitzmagic with the Miami or the Florida.
Yeah, it was the Miami Dolphins. I think also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also had the Fitzmagic thing. He was also a bit of Fitzmagic also for a brief stint with the New York Jets as well. But there were enough teams in his career where it wasn't Fitzmagic. It was Fitztragic. And unfortunately that hit he took against the Chargers in the first game of the season made the ending of his career Fitztragic.
Yeah.
In further NFL news, Colts linebacker Darius Leonard underwent back surgery and it has released a timetable that he should be back in time for training camp. The Rams secure Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp from their Super Bowl run. Aaron Donald getting a 2-year extension. Cooper Kupp, who was expected to be a free agent next season, also has had 3 years added onto his deal.
And barely surpassing Tyreek Hill as the highest paid wide receiver.
Oh man, Cooper Kupp has been super consistent when on the field for the last few years. This was something that I thought it was going to happen in due time anyway.
I think it's a good idea too because he's a year younger than Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Or OBJ, I should say, because they were both on the same team.
Yeah.
And he's like the same age as Tyreek Hill as well, but not as fast, I guess. But he can actually catch more, in my opinion.
Yep. And then we're going to add another NFL story, as this kind of has like enough like have we ever had a season within the last few where the Cleveland Browns have not been involved in a saga?
Oh, like a dumpster fire?
This is becoming more of one than the Washington Commanders right now.
So are we saying that it's a landfill or that is like on fire, or what are we talking about?
Yeah. It's kind of it has gone from bad to really bad to even worse.
Also, does it smell like money, like burnt money? Because to me, I'm just imagining a big old crane that's just dumping money into a landfill.
At this point, at this current state, it's looking like as now a 24th woman has been added to the Deshaun Watson suit. As of today, I also saw that the Houston Texans are now being added as a defendant in the suit. But
A defendant?
yep,
What? Why would you want? If you're the Texans, you would not want to get involved with that. Just saying.
the problem is that the amount of women that were ultimately involved with this thing, it probably, and they were probably appointed by the Texans, for crying out.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
They have a hand, like there's a hand, there's a hand in the cookie jar, but Cleveland might actually have some loopholes where that 230 million may not be burnt after all.
I mean, it would be they could void it, kind of like how other teams avoided their stars based on injuries.
They might have the possibility of voiding this contract over this type of situation. So this might not be so bad after all, but Baker Mayfield also excused himself from OTAs. So this saga is just continuing, and it's almost like there's enough questions in there, and you end up following it with the ending of tune into the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, from what I've seen on the clickbait news articles I've seen, it doesn't look good at all. And it never looked good in the beginning either. Like, yes, he pled not guilty before all this crap happened, but it's not over yet. And it won't be for a long time. And the fact that the Browns decided, hey, let's give them a buttload of money and just to, like, save them and, like, make the Texans happy for the trade doesn't look good. I feel like it's more of a shot in the wind by the Browns.
Oh, it was basically Cleveland's attempt to polish a turd. It's still a turd.
Yeah.
What? No,
you put the nail on the head right there. I'm not offended. I'm just saying, yep, that's pretty much it. It's got some flies on it. Got some stink marks. There you go.
Oh, but now let's shift over from football to basketball as we'll go to a team that is not currently in the finals, in that Quinn Snyder has resigned as head coach of the Utah Jazz. So really, how is this going to impact the Jazz moving forward, as now also there's been speculation that Rudy Gobert could be traded?
There's also speculation that Donovan Mitchell might not stay with the team, as he could also be traded and or sign with another team. I don't know his like situation as far as team tender or contracts, but it doesn't look good for the team either way.
Yeah,
they might implode, as some of the analysts said on ESPN before the second game of the NBA Finals.
Yeah, they're like, I've seen speculation with a 3-team deal involving Anthony Davis going to Brooklyn and Donovan Mitchell going to LA. I mean, this is disappointing for Mitchell, as he is the main piece, that the Spider is one of the main pieces there. Rudy Gobert, I think Rudy Gobert has had the potential rumor of him going to the Bulls. I mean, that would be huge for the Bulls. It makes the Bulls look like a better team.
Yep.
It kind of almost leaves to wonder what they're going to do with Vucevic at that point, but neither here nor there. And
In other
now,
breaking news, and not surprising, Draymond Green has fouled out of the game in Game 3.
oh wow. Well, Boston's and the series is tied at 1. Game 3 is in progress. That was kind of, we were getting to that point. You said something a lot further ahead than where we were trying to go.
Oh, I was just watching Steph Curry get his ankle squished by Al Horford. By the way, the Warriors fans that are listening to this right now, not sorry, but I'm just looking at what I see right now.
Ruckus.
All right, let's get further in. Let's get further in.
Okay, the series is tied at 1. We're now down to the final 3 minutes of this game, and the currently with about 3 minutes to go in the game, as of this time, the Warriors are down 12. So this may hold for Boston holding serve at home, which was one of the keys I mentioned. What was it? We did the finals preview last week.
I believe so.
So I mean, the keys to the game. I mean, keys to the series, holding serve at home. I think if this series comes out and goes back to Golden State game 5 in Oakland at 2-2, we're in for some fireworks this series.
Telling you, man, Game 7, Celtics.
I think it just, if they keep shooting well enough and Draymond Green tries to stay out of like skirmishes, I pick the Warriors at 6.
There's no Draymond without drama.
Not necessarily how you wanted to spell that.
And I mean,
you don't have enough A's.
He literally.
I mean, even by Boggle rules, you don't have enough A's to actually complete that.
I mean, let's be honest here. Every time I see Draymond on the screen, he's yelling at somebody. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but mostly when you're yelling at somebody, it's probably not a good thing, especially if it's a ref.
All right. You got a point there, but this still has to apply. This concept that I was talking of still has to apply.
Fair enough. All right, you ready for sports history?
Yep. So now that we've gone into the present, or gone through the present, and what's in front of us, let's now take it back a ways and figure out and see what's been going on in the past. All of these events that happened here were on June 8th, today's date. On June 8th, 1955, Tommy Lasorda was optioned by the Dodgers. And this ultimately paved the way for the Dodgers to bring in a future Hall of Fame left-handed pitcher who you've seen me draft in a team builder before, Sandy Koufax.
Also, rest in peace, Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah. Although, I'm trying to think, he was a player that I think Barry Bonds hit with a ball, like it was a ball or a bat during like an All-Star game type thing, and had like a funny moment that was involved with it. So Lasorda took a lot of things to try. I mean, and Lasorda also eventually made the Hall of Fame as a manager. So it was at least something. In 1961, on this date, the Milwaukee Brewers, who are now currently in Atlanta, set the record for most consecutive home runs as far as like back-to-back jacks with four hit. The four that hit them, Eddie Matthews was the first one, Hank Aaron was the second, Joe Adcock was the third, and Frank Thomas was the fourth. No, Ruckus, not the Big Hurt. Don't get it mixed up. This is an outfielder by the name of Frank Thomas. The Big Hurt was a first baseman.
Correct.
In 1965, the first ever MLB draft occurred. In 1969, Mickey Mantle gave his farewell retirement speech. Also got to see his number 7 be retired in New York. And here was a funny, here was one that I had to put in because the whole thing ended up being hilarious. On this day in 1989, the Pittsburgh Pirates scored 10 runs in the first inning. This is their best inning since 1942. This prompted Pirates broadcaster Jim Rooker to say that he would walk from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia if the Pirates lost this game. What do you think happened?
Well, knowing the Pirates, they probably would lose.
They blew a 10-run lead to lose to the Philadelphia Phillies 15-11, and Rooker made the walk at the end of the season.
Let me ask you a question, Spanis. Has it been since 1989 since the Pirates have actually scored 10 runs in the first inning?
Oh yeah.
Is that how like low this franchise is?
I mean, how often are you going to see a team even score 10 in the first inning anyway?
Fair point. Fair point.
That's not going to happen that often. And I don't even think that the Texas Rangers 30-3 game had one of those moments.
Spanis 1, Ruckus 0.
Yeah, because I'm going to double check the box score of that game. No, actually, the Texas Rangers actually did have a 10-run inning in their 30-3 game against the Orioles. This was on. Granted that we'll have this on in August, but it was August 22nd, 2007. The Texas Rangers had a 10-run 8th inning against the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles had a 3-0 lead going into the top of the 4th inning, and it fell completely apart. They were up 3-0, and the Rangers scored 30 unanswered runs. That is a 3-0, ladies and gentlemen. 30.
You know, at that point, you just need to get a mercy rule, but it is what it is.
I mean, baseball is one of those games where we don't have shot clocks, we don't have game clocks, we don't even have mercy rules.
I mean, if you count quitting the game in Diamond Dynasty being a mercy rule, then sure, but that's digital.
They would have rage quit it like 10-0 or 10-3.
They just all leave the dugout. They're just like, screw this. I'm gonna go grab a beer and a steak.
I'm going home. All right. So now we're gonna go into a little bit of a new segment. This new segment I decided to add because last week we had a little bit of fun with the start bench cut thing. So I now decided, hey, why don't we go ahead and make this a regular segment? The segment is called Setting the Lineup. Setting the Lineup is a weekly segment where we will be presenting to ourselves a created start bench cut scenario, and we debate the decisions we make. Now, this is something where I'm going to ask for a bit of help because I may not always be able to make something very, very easy for this. And plus, this gives you guys a little bit of an idea. So if you guys have any suggestions, mention them to us through either our comment section on YouTube or our Twitter handles, which, Ruckus, go ahead and give them yours.
My Ruckus Twill handle is at RUCKUSSPORTS97. That is Ruckus Sports 97.
And mine is Spenis The Menace. Spenis, SPENACEDAMENACE. The would have fit, but Twitter needs to give me that extra character. But on the other hand here, that's beside the point. That's small grapes, small potatoes compared. But if you guys send them to these ideas to us through our Twitter handles, we will actually use some of the like. If I get a whole bunch of them, I will probably take some of the best ones and have them in a docket for.
Also, we can this won't be limited to just Twitter. We could also do it on other platforms if we can get to it.
Yeah,
As far as
I just
YouTube
kind of
and yeah.
I just kind of gave those as kind of a start point because they're like, why don't we kind of give them a start point to figure out? But it's like, if you see something on there and you shoot it my way on a Discord DM or something like that, Ruckus, then be my guest. We'll add it. We'll add it in.
Fair enough.
But this
That's all good.
but this one, okay. So the rules for this, if it is a three person start bench cut, it's a one of each. Start one, bench one, cut one. Now, the rules are for this. The number of players that are involved with this must be odd. It must be an odd number. Now, if it is 3, it's 1 each. At 5, you go into a start 2, bench 2, cut 1. 7 is a start 3, bench 2, cut 2. Or we can do a start 3, bench 3, cut 1. Just depends on the scenario. But as more kind of come along, if you give us the scenarios, I'll structure it based on what is given. Or if you give the specific scenario for say like a 7, say like you got 7, it's like, start, but it is always start 3. From there you either have bench 2 or cut 2 or bench 3 cut 1. So this one here is a start 2, bench 2, cut 1. So this is 5 players. At the wide receiver position. So this is another thing where, give the position as well. So the 5 receivers: Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams. You're starting 2, you're benching 2, and cutting 1. Ruckus.
All right, so I'm starting Cooper Kupp. Also, I'm going to start Devontae Adams. I'm going to bench Scary Terry and AJ Brown, and I'm cutting Amari Cooper.
I would like to see where your insight is on this.
Amari Cooper has been moved around and come around a lot, and he has some question marks on his overall. Will he perform or will he be a dud? As far as what the Cowboys used him for and what the Browns are now in for as well, as they had signed a contract earlier. AJ Brown has shown a lot of success. Scary Terry has had multiple 1,000-yard seasons, as you had told me before the show. Devontae Adams is a proven wide receiver, and so is Cooper Kupp, which just recently got an extension, and so did Adams, but Kupp is more paid, but that's not the reason why I started him. Kupp has won a Super Bowl and has proven it time and time again. Devontae Adams as well has proven it time and time again. AJ Brown would be a good bench guy in case one of them got injured. Same with Scary Terry, but the same goes with those two as well. But that's here nor there. And then I haven't seen a whole lot of Amari Cooper tape, but him in the situation he's in is not very good. But even then, as far as raw talent, I just haven't seen a whole lot from him. He's been mainly he's had a lot of injury history and just not been consistent.
I will throw the monkey wrench in there that AJ Brown has also dealt with a lot of utilization issues in Tennessee. So
That is true.
where I went, the only change we really had was who got benched and who got cut. I actually took Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp. That's definitely the two that I would start. My bench, on the other hand, I did keep Terry McLaurin there. But I did also bench Amari Cooper. Although Cooper has had injury history, Dallas at least knew how to utilize him when he was on the field. And there were some games where when Dak Prescott was hitting Cooper with the ball well, that Cooper was torching defenses. And I think the utilization issue of AJ Brown, I think this one may have a little more wiggle room to change as soon as we really get to see what a season in Philadelphia looks like for AJ Brown. And granted, a season for Cleveland with Amari Cooper could change some things too, but I think Cooper has shown to have a little bit more of a track record in the positive at this moment than AJ Brown, other than that AJ Brown is a younger receiver.
Also, when you throw the monkey in the wrench with AJ and Amari Cooper, they have two new teams. AJ was fighting for minutes with, or fighting for possessions with Julio Jones and many other teammates with getting reps from Tannehill. And Cooper was just fighting to get reps with Dak and CD Lamb and many others. But we'll see what happens. I feel like AJ Brown has more opportunity with the Eagles because you didn't have very many receivers with the Eagles, but now you do with AJ Brown and a few others I cannot name off the top of my head. Amari Cooper,
Jalen Reagor's there, and some of those others.
Wasn't Devontae Smith also on the Eagles?
Yes, Devontae Smith is there.
That's what I was trying to say, but I didn't want to be wrong.
It allows Devontae Smith to move to the slot if necessary. So I think this may make Devontae Smith. I think this could make Devontae Smith a little better if AJ Brown does not produce out of it.
Right. Yeah. I also, if you really wanted to, you could have added Tyreek Hill, but I mean, when it comes to the drama recently with the shortened time that he got to play, as far as fighting for reps, which in my opinion is not true between him and AJ Brown, but there was recent drama about him not getting enough reps so that he would sign a lesser contract with the team to stay with the team, but that's here nor there. That was just a drama point from his podcast, which I'm not going to plug.
Right. But now that we've gotten through our start, bench, and cut, we now can go to the simulation. I'm going to first plug in that Mario Strikers Battle League releases Friday. So this is Mario's soccer sport installment. I plan to pick it up and give it some run. I partook in in a couple games of the first kick last week to kind of test some things out. There's a lot of things I enjoyed with it. I mean, they've evolved the franchise, and there's a whole bunch of different things that the first kick didn't really even bring into it, but it makes it interesting that there's also gear involved that can change attributes and such. So I look forward to trying to get into getting my hands on it soon. But as far as MLB The Show goes, other than Ruckus pulling a trout, they have officially released their next feature program, or their most recent one, called Future of the Franchise. So this is themed around future stars players. Obviously, it's going to last longer than the holiday program.
It's going to be a month long.
Yep, and we're already about a week in. or close to a week in. I've already picked up my first one. So I grabbed the Orioles shortstop. I haven't messed with him or debuted him yet, but I might get some run with him later on. I've got a couple other things that I'm prioritizing, including the stuff that was released this week. Take it away, Ruckus.
All right, so for your 91 overall monthly awards, you have the choices between the closing pitcher Clay Holmes of the New York Yankees, the shortstop of the Atlanta Braves Dansby Swanson, a catcher that could also play left, center, and right field Dalton Varsho,
Yep.
the right fielder Cole Calhoun of the Texas Rangers, the starting pitcher Martin Perez of the Texas Rangers, and the closer of the Cardinals, Ryan Hesley, as your 91 overalls. And then as far as the next tier up, you have the 93 overall monthly award, Jose Altuve of the Houston Astros, the New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso, the Polar Bear, the starting pitcher of the Detroit Tigers, Tarek Skubal. And then from there, you get the left fielder from the Boston Red Sox, Jim Rice, as a legendary. And then, as Spence has said, you get Rafi Devers as your monthly award.
Yes, this is a Red Sox heavy Lightning. I am excited for that. Ruckus, which player have you chosen so far for your? Though the program does eventually have you be able to get them all, who have you chosen so far?
I have chosen the 91 overall Clay Holmes, the closing pitcher. I've also taken Dansby Swanson and Dalton Varsho because I need a catcher other than Rushman when it comes to these missions. Also, Swanson can get on base, and Clay Holmes you can plug and play as many times as you want. You don't have to have him start. On the mini seasons, you could literally just have him pitch for a little bit and then take him out and then pitch him again later. Just more opportunities is what I was looking for, and just more opportunities to gain more XP. And I've already done the moments for this, but yes, go ahead.
Oh yeah, for where I'm at, I have just gotten into the point where I am now doing the parallel grinding. I'm also doing a little bit of parallel grinding with the future start, or with not the future starts, but some of the future of the franchise players. But I have so far chosen Dansby Swanson, Cole Calhoun, and I chose Martin Perez. For where I'm going at from there, I then am going to pick up Tarek Skubal from the 93 set, and I will be looking at Jose Altuve for my other 91 for my other 93. And then I'll get the rest later on. So pretty much what I'm gonna do as far as the monthly award pitching, I'm just gonna do those in Conquest. Or if I need to, I'll do a play versus CPU and then just run complete games with them, and then try and build everything else up around it. But I'm primarily going to be spending a lot of time in Conquest with that. And because mini seasons, you're only going to get one every 5. And with the mini seasons also going to be primarily more spent on trying to get some of those bronze, silver, and gold rewinds, I'm not going to be as concerned with some of the other things going on. So that's why I'm more prioritizing starting pitching at this point than closing.
Fair enough.
Because there really wasn't enough bullpen stuff in this monthly awards to really do much of anything with it. And now that we've concluded the simulation, we have a little bit of a shorter war room today. But the theme of it is called Jersey Math. Now, Ruckus and I will both be coming up with simple addition problems that involve the jersey numbers of players. There are the small restrictions we have for the NFL: no offensive linemen. For players that have multiple numbers or teams, you have to specify a time frame if it was a player wearing different numbers for the same team, or the team if there was a different number than what was normally applied to that said player. So Ruckus, I am more than willing to fire the first one to you to
All
kind
right.
of give an illustration of how this works. And most correct wins. Because we only have 4 each.
Correct.
Okay, so my first one. Lance Berkman, when he was a Cardinal. Andre Reed, as a member of the Washington Commanders, or at the time the Washington Redskins. And Jason Kidd, when he was a member of the Phoenix Suns.
And then Jason Kidd is the Phoenix Sun.
Yep.
Um, Lance Berkman, I'm thinking number 12. And then I don't know a whole lot about Andre Reed, but I'm thinking. Can I get a hint?
Andre Reed played back when, of course, the NFL had their restrictions on wide receiver numbers. So if you remember the old restrictions on wide receiver numbers, you may be able to put yourself in a good spot.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know the old restrictions, because back then, I just didn't.
It was either 10 through 19 or 80 to 89.
All
So,
right, I'm gonna go
so that's
with.
why I said the old restrictions.
I'm gonna go with 84 on Andre Reed, and then as far as Jason Kidd, I'm gonna say 32.
Did you look any of this up, or did you have a clue somewhere along the way?
I looked up Jason Kidd.
You weren't supposed to be looking anything up. So what is your total?
Um, so 84. So if I wasn't supposed to be looking anything up, it'd be 84, 12, and 32, correct?
Yep.
Which in this case, I would be off by one. So I have 128.
No, you're actually on the money. You actually are 100% on the money. Andre Reed, when he was a Buffalo Bill, wore number 83.
I put 84.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. 84 is right.
Oh,
Yeah, 84 is the right number. So that's why I was asking. I was like, did you look any of this up?
I looked up Kid because I just didn't know. I couldn't recall.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, yeah, don't look anything up. Like, don't look anything up because you're supposed to kind of remember that based off of that. All right, so fire away, Ruckus.
All right, so I'm gonna go with. This is just all MLB here.
Okay.
Cal Ripken Jr., Nick Markakis, Cesar Izturis.
All right, so all three of these are Okay. For Cesar is Turris. Which team? Because I
Orioles.
know he played Orioles.
2009.
Yeah, because remember, you have to say the specific. Remember, it has to be the specific team. So I mean, with
They're
all
all
these.
Orioles players.
Okay, so they're all Orioles players in this team. 32.
For which one? Oh, for the whole total. Okay,
Yes.
32, correct.
Yep. Because Cal Ripken Jr. was 8, Nick Markakis was 21, and Cesar Izturis was 3. All right, so my second one here. Randy Moss as a member of the New England Patriots. Albert Pujols as a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And Al Horford as a member of the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh man. Um you had, what was the first one again?
Randy Moss as a New England Patriot.
And then Albert Pujols as a
Dodger.
Dodger.
Yep.
I thought you said Angels.
I said Dodgers.
Um
And Al Horford as a Hawk.
all right, so I'm going to say 46 total.
Nope. Nope. You're not even close.
Cuz I was thinking Pujols was wearing number 5. Um the first one again was,
Randy Moss as a Patriot.
I thought he was number 12. But that would have made no sense because Tom Brady was number 12. So, what was Randy Moss's number?
All right, so the correct answer was 151. Randy Moss was number 81 as a Patriot. Albert Pujols, because Corey Seager had number 5, he had to wear number 55. And Al Horford as a Hawk, what was the number you were thinking of there?
30.
It was actually 15.
Oh wow, so half of that.
Yep.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right, this is the NBA.
All the
So,
NBA.
I have Chris Bosh as a member of the Heat, Shaquille O'Neal as a member of the Celtics, and Carmelo Anthony as a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Ooh. Okay. So if I have this correct, Chris Bosh is a member of the Miami Heat, wore number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo as a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, wore number 7. And Shaquille O'Neal as a member of the Boston Celtics, wore number 36. So I am going to say 44.
You are correct. I was hoping I could stump you on that, but apparently not. Because he wore a lot of numbers. He wore 34 and 32 for part of his career, but like, I was hoping that you wouldn't get the Celtics on that one.
Yeah, but Shaq also wore 33 in college, which I think was the number he was trying for. But of course, he wouldn't have been able to get that in Boston because Bird had it. Bird had it and it was retired. And 32, I think, also was kind of in that tough little conundrum. I think so was 34. So 36 was kind of the number that kind of best fit. All right. So my third one, Josh Bell as a Washington National. Keyshawn Johnson as a member of the Jets, and Jason White Chocolate Williams as a member of the Miami Heat.
What did the second player play as a what was his position, and also what year?
It was another wide receiver. The Jets were. He was a wide receiver, but remember the restrictions for wide receivers were 10 through 19 and 80 to 89. Keyshawn wore the same number throughout his entire career through a couple of teams. So even if I gave you Keyshawn Johnson for the Buccaneers, it's the same number as Keyshawn with the Jets.
Okay. And then third guy was the white chocolate guy.
White chocolate. Yep.
Man. My total is gonna be 126.
Oh, what? Where did you go wrong? Because remember, I said 10 through 19 for the receiver. Where were you? What were the numbers you were thinking?
Oh, I was thinking somewhere in the 80s. Because again,
So
I didn't know how far off
you...
wide receivers were at the time.
Yes.
Because I don't know about him or white chocolate at all. And I don't even know the number of Josh Bell's jersey, to be honest with you.
Okay, so Josh Bell as a member of the Nationals is number 19.
Oh.
He wore 55 while he was a Pirate, but when he got traded to the Nationals, he ended up to number 19. Keyshawn Johnson throughout his entire career also wore 19. And White Chocolate, though he has worn the number 2 in certain other situations, for the Miami Heat, he wore number 55, which was also the same number he wore as a Sacramento King. 93 was the correct answer.
Yeah, I was way off.
All right, so what's my third one, Ruckus? And I'm sure that this is all NFL.
Correct. So, this next one is Brody Croyle of the Kansas City Chiefs, Hines Ward of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Peyton Manning of the Indianapolis Colts.
So you said Brody Croyle as a Chief.
Correct.
Quarterback?
Yes.
So that narrows the numbers down. This is the only one out of the 3 I don't know. Because Hines Ward was 86 and Peyton Manning was always 18. Brody Croyle. What time frame did he play there?
Late 2000s, so 2009, 2010, early 2010s.
Okay, I'm venturing that his number is probably somewhere in 12, the 12 range. So I'm gonna say 116.
Sadly, yes, sir. I was hoping I could get you stumped on that
one. Wow!
You are lucky.
How did I pull that? I did not know. I mean, as soon as I said quarterback, I'm like, okay, 1 through 19. And the Chiefs are not necessarily known for having single-digit numbered players be quarterbacks. So So I kind of left it at that, and I just happened to stumble upon that. That just happened.
So you didn't look it up at all?
No, no, I stumbled on that one. Like I was actually thinking that one through.
All right.
Okay, so my last one. Okay, so my three here: Carlos Delgado as a New York Met, Sean Marion as a member of the Dallas Mavericks, and Chris Cooley as a member of the Commanders.
So Delgado. Hmm. And you said John Marion.
Yep, the Matrix. Carlos Delgado, the Matrix, and Captain Chaos.
Man, these are tough. I'm gonna do that, and then what was the position for the third one?
He was a tight end,
Okay.
but tight ends at the time also could wear numbers into the 40s.
All right, my total is 103.
Nope. Nope. What number did you have for Sean Marion?
I thought it was 25.
No. Sean Marion Sean Marion's had what had absolutely nothing to do with the actual equation because it was 0. Sean Marion wore number 0 as a member of the Dallas Mavericks. And what number did you have for Delgado?
36.
21. And then Cooley, you were thinking into the 80s.
I
Which
was
actually,
thinking I put 42.
it was actually 47, so you were closer there. And of course, you know how Chris Cooley got his nickname at Captain Chaos. He was actually dared to by a teammate because he introduced himself that way at a coin flip before a game against the St. Louis, now Los Angeles Rams. He was dared to do so in introducing himself in the coin toss as I am Captain Chaos.
That sounds badass, not gonna lie.
That is definitely like one of the best nicknames. And breaking news on the final. The Celtics are now up 2-1 after winning by 16 over Golden State.
Yeah, boy. Not biased at all.
All right, so now we're to my last one. I mean,
Which
granted, I've already gotten
is
all three, and this is kind of like your little wild card grab bag.
yes it is, I guess. So this one is probably gonna be the easiest one that you've probably rolled. So I have Derek Jeter with the New York Yankees, David Wells with the Boston Red Sox, and Alex Gordon of the Kansas City Royals.
Oh, this might actually be the one I get wrong because I can't remember Boomer's num. You can't remember Boomer's number as a member of the Red Sox. I mean, Derek Jeter's obviously going to be number 2.
Correct.
I'm going to say 39. 39 is the answer.
Incorrect.
I knew I
So
was. I knew,
the
and here was where I was at. I had Wells at 33, and I had Gordon with 4.
well, you had Gordon right. Wells is actually 3. So
Uh,
his
wait,
number was in
wait.
honor of Babe Ruth.
Oh wow! Hold up. Hmm.
When I was looking it up, David Wells' number was number 3.
Yeah, double check. I'm wanting to double check that on the baseball reference just to be sure.
I just looked up David Wells' number with the Red Sox.
Oh, he. Oh, here's the. Oh,
So
he
I was
actually.
correct?
No, well, you had one there, but he had he had two different numbers in Boston, so that one was a little. That one, I would not have chosen that because he had two different numbers there, but 3 was one of them. He also had 16 at one point as well.
Oh, okay. Well, at least I
But
stumped you a little bit, but I didn't
oh
even know.
no, but here was the funny thing. Like, you want to know some other irony with that?
Yeah.
David David Wells wore 33 in four other locations. Actually, 5 other locations. As a Yankee, as a Blue Jay, as a Blue Jay from 99 to 2000, the White Sox, the Padres, and the Dodgers. So with me picking 33, I was not a long ways off. I just didn't get it for the right team. That is that is. I had what was weird was I was on a mark at that point that had myself on the right track, but with the right track with the right player, but it was for the wrong team.
All right.
So so I took that one 3-1, but and it wasn't like I was throwing a lot of hard ones at you. It was just a lot of ones that you weren't sure on what the restrictions of numbers were for, especially the NFL. For ones of the NFL, but then also I was giving you a lot more like less lesser known numbers.
Yeah, and
That
plus some of those people I didn't even know to begin with either.
wait,
So,
you didn't know? Wait, who all did you? I mean, Andre
white,
Reed.
white chocolate, Andre Reed.
Well, Andre Reed. Of course, I figured you would have gotten that if you would have known your restrictions. So I thought you knew a little. I thought you knew a little more than what I was trying to lead you to.
Yeah, it's all fun and games at the end of the
Yeah.
day, and
At the end
honestly,
of the
it's
day,
good to know that stuff too. Like even the audience members that don't know that, it also helps help them understand and learn more too. Like I'm learning as I go, and I'm not
yeah.
really beat up about it.
Oh yeah, and then the white chocolate one. I'm like, okay. I'm like, he was a 2000s basketball player, so I was like, okay. I don't know necessarily sport wise where your cutoffs are. So
I started really following sports like in '04 or in '05, to be honest with
yeah,
you, but
which funny enough, the years that Jason Williams was a member of the Heat were right around that time.
I also didn't really follow much of the Heat. I was more like an overall like watching the All Stars play, like Allen Iverson,
Yeah,
LeBron James at the time was butting
yeah.
into a All Star. Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Garnett was a big guy with the Timberwolves at the time. Whew! I remember having
And
his jersey. I remember having Paul Pierce's jersey as a kid. Like,
actually,
woo!
I think Williams at the time, like, remember the elbow pat? Remember the elbow pass? Any elbow passes that were done in the NBA?
No, sir.
That was the guy making the elbow passes.
I need to look that up tonight on YouTube.
Yeah, and then Keyshawn Johnson was a 90s to 2000s wide receiver. You probably would have more so known him as a Buck, but that's why I was trying to lead you into he was a Buccaneer, but he wore the same number there as he wore as a Jet. So that's why I was trying to lead you in that direction, that Keyshawn Johnson's number never changed.
And again, with that on the NFL and NBA and MLB, I didn't really follow until like 04, 05. But
Yeah, I think
it is what
Delgado
it
was
is.
also that number was right around that time. I think we're getting closer. I think I'm getting closer to kind of finding stuff that's going to help you score more.
I
But
also find that I just didn't remember Delgado's number, and yes, I should have probably been paying attention during the Roy Halladay program, but it is what it is at the end of the
yeah,
day. I'm not gonna
well,
try and pull
Delgado
anything.
was number 25 as a Blue Jay, so that would not have helped you that much. All right, so now we're to weekly studs and duds. All right, Ruckus, where are you starting with this one?
Alright, so my stud for this week is Patrick Mahomes, because he pretty much carried his teammate Josh Allen in this golf match called The Match in Las Vegas, and not only carried him, but also outdrank him with about 7 to 8 beers in total with Coors Light, his sponsor. They ended up losing that, but it was still fun to listen to the commentary and the little like banter, like the joke where Patrick Mahomes answers the question from the sports analyst asking him what his biggest fear is, and that is the
Oh,
coin toss.
it was Josh Allen. It was Josh Allen with the biggest fear being a coin toss.
Correct. And then also Josh Allen's golf ball had the NFL Combine picture of Tom Brady on it. Tom Brady had his photo on his golf club of the Lombardi Trophy and taunted Josh Allen, asking him if he's seen any one of these. And then that was pretty much what I could see as far as golf balls was concerned, and just other drama besides just Chuck talking smack and all that, which I really liked. I honestly thought it was a better change of pace compared to what I've seen as far as
Yeah,
game casts.
yeah, it's like having a social golf outing of like iconic players on TV,
And you
which
don't
was
have to
basically what
worry
that
about
was.
like a lot of language being used. Like I was surprised that with Chuck's language, but I honestly love Chuck for what he does.
Oh, he really is one that kind of like speaks his mind.
He's a character, and I love him.
Oh my. Oh, do we want me to go through stud first, because this is kind of a little bit of a long run for me because I had a lot of good stuff.
Go for it, dog.
There was a lot of good that came around, especially on the stud side. The one that I'm going to mention as a stud, as a tie, I have Eduardo Escobar as he hit for the cycle on Monday night. But another thing that kind of really noted around is that NL first baseman this season is also a stud for me. So far, 9 of them have a WRC plus, which is basically weighted runs created plus, which is a normalizing stat for errors. 9 of them, including Eric Hosmer, Freddie Freeman, and Goldschmidt, had a 115 or better. 100 is considered the league average. So all of these guys are putting up 15% more than the league average in WRC plus. And Hosmer was on the low end.
He's been on the low end, to be honest.
But at a couple of my honorable mentions, and this is a tie as well, Odell Beckham Jr. for crashing Sean McVay's wedding. As McVay mentioned this on a podcast, McVay and here was the interesting thing about the whole thing. McVay was completely okay with Odell crashing it. Like, no offense that Odell wasn't invited to this thing, and just Sean McVay said, "Go figure." In Odell fashion, Odell crashes the wedding.
How healthy is he, by the way?
Um, I McVay didn't get into details on that, but I mean, if he's healthy enough to be standing around walking and crashing weddings, I have a funny feeling he may be he what was it, a torn ACL?
Yep.
Yeah, he's probably healthy enough to do that, but maybe not healthy enough to play football. But my second one was definitely more heartfelt and kind of that tug on the heartstrings a little bit, as it was a really good one. Randy Arozarena. So, and Tampa is known for having right now kind of that gem known as Brett Phillips. And a lot of these players there, it's like they get it. They're giving back to the kids. And for Randy Arozarena, a young Cardinals fan, ended up like giving up a ball during like a certain situation where it kind of called for it. And Arozarena was kind of moved by this. So in the middle of the game, no less, Arozarena charges out of the dugout with with an object in plastic wrap. Arozarena personally writes a note to this young Cardinals fan. This fan is wearing a Yadier Molina jersey, a fan of the opposite team, and Randy Arozarena still goes out, hand delivers an autographed bat to the kid.
Also, a good known fact: Randy Arozarena was waived by the Cardinals and then taken by the Rays.
Yeah, or traded. I think it was actually a trade.
Oh, I thought he was just waived in general.
No, I think it was a trade. I was seeing stuff saying that it was a trade. So I mean, still, Arozarena already had a great relationship with the Cardinals or had like a solid relationship with the Cardinals to begin with.
He's a hard worker, and I love him for that.
Oh man, like
what a character!
Like good, like this was such a good thing, and I even liked that. Like Brett Phillips is a gem. So these baseball players get it, and they want to get the kids to have like the great involvement with the game. And I will mention every single time that I can, and I see it in a stud moment whenever a good moment like this occurs.
Yeah, it's also really good for the game too, as far as the future generations, and just in general the game and the way it is now.
And even if a kid doesn't get into baseball, it's still like a big meaningful moment. It's still a big meaningful moment that can have a story behind it.
Yeah, it brings charm to the league.
Yep. And while there may be charm in terms of that, there was not so much charm in the Chicago Bears camp, as my dud for this week is the Chicago Bears for being forced to cancel an OTA due to having live contact in a practice. So this is not necessarily a great thing, because you kind of want to have as many of these as possible to develop the team bond and all that. Like, they're trying to rebuild. They've got a new coach. Understand the assignment. This kind of hurts them down the line. I'll get to that. I'll get to my other honorable mention in this a little later, because it was like a hilarious thing, but I still called it a dud. But Ruckus, what is your dud?
Honestly, this happened earlier Wednesday today as we were recording. Ramel Tapia, not much known for his fielding or his offense, but more for his legs running around the bases. He was playing right field when this happened against Carlos Santana, probably one of the lowest batting average guys on our team, but managed to also, I could have had him as my dud, to be honest, but He went 4 for 4 today, and one of his hits went off of an error, a fielding error from Ramel Tapia, where he was looking into the sun. He was using his glove, also using his advantage of the sunglasses, and still could not field the ball properly and let it drop right next to him, which resulted in a Carlos Santana double. And his error was against his fellow foe, the sun. The one thing that is super hot. The sun.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so my goodness. This made this makes like an interesting. Let's hear my other dud. That was an honorable mention that I'm gonna say, like a hilarious exchange, goes to Gary Cohen and Keith Hernandez, the commentary team for the New York Mets, in talking about stroking out. As Keith Hernandez goes and talking about, like, it's like he says, so here we are again, the Mets stroking out 8 hits. Cohen just looks at it, and then he's like, "Oh, it's a baseball stroke." He's like, "I think you need to watch your language because we're getting older, and stroking out is something we don't want to be doing." Talking about like having a stroke, like having a stroke or something along
Yeah.
those. But it's like, oh, how easily that statement could very well have situated themselves
Yeah, if you take
into.
that out of context, that would look bad.
Yes, it looked bad. Like it looked worse than what it went along, and so they barely could keep it together as the inning continued. Oh my! But I mean, we went off the rails a little earlier with something.
I feel like in
And
general, as a sportscaster, you can go off the rails no matter the context, no matter what's going on. Like, there are times when sportscasters will get to the point where the fans will disagree and probably try to mute the TV and just go for their local radio that they like. Like, for example, with the Chiefs, sometimes you don't get lucky and you get Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and you just want to go for
yeah,
Mitch Holtis. Uh, but like in general, that goes for like any team. Like if you have like a local radio that you enjoy listening to versus like the commentary on TV, you might just mute the TV and just go with the radio, even though there might be a bit of delay between that and the broadcast.
yeah. I mean, I completely get where you're going with that. I mean, this one was it was funny. Like it was funny to actually listen to it all the way through. But I called it a dud just simply because it was like this was almost not a very good time for that to just air itself out.
And that's more heavy than like the time I saw Matt Vasgersian talking about like he I think they were in Boston at the time and he made a New Englander accent joke where he said wicked hard and he apologized for it and it's just like dude like that's not even that's pretty tame compared to other things like you're saying with like strokes like that could go in many ways.
Like it could go in many ways, but it was one of those things where I mean, I only had it as a dud because they it was a moment where you normally want to try and stay in flow of the game, and it digressed and went off the rails pretty quickly. I mean, was it still good? Yeah. I mean, it's like I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that, and kind of that along the way. I mean, it wasn't like the Jesse Winker thing earlier when like back in like
Yeah.
episode 1 or 2.
That was like spring training though.
Yeah. Yeah, back when we started this thing along.
You're
But
kind of allowed to do that in spring training. Because, like, no one's really doing a whole lot. They're mainly just looking to see who would be. the next man up in case someone got injured or just wasn't doing well, you know.
Yeah, but it was just I just had to I had to put this in. Like, I didn't want it as like a hard dud, but it was just an honorable mention dud that was kind of like fun. Like, it was funny enough to just kind of see that just go completely off the rails enough that it's like, oh, this is. It's not quite as hilarious of a dud worthy for where I was, but it was done enough that it had to be mentioned. Oh,
Anything
Ruckus.
else for you, Spinnis?
No, I'll go. Let's go ahead and take it out. I mean, we plugged our Twitter handles earlier in the pod, so that kind of is there. But this concludes the Ruckus and the Menace podcast. We look forward to hearing from you guys and seeing what start bench cuts you guys throw for us here that we plan to implement. Again, thank you to Lam and Mack from Two Nerds in a Pod for shouting us out. We do look forward to working with an opportunity to have one of them on. I think I'm leaning toward trying to get Lam on, and we'll probably have like a special episode down the line. I'm figuring out details on that, and I might be coming up with a very special war room for that actually will have a blend of sports, video games, and other trivia that is non-sporting or video game related.
Also, check out his special. The first option on YouTube is Lam Galuka. He also does comedy, and he is a very good comedian, mostly non-vulgar, but he's very good at his craft.
Yeah, and still doing a good bit of things. He's done some like VR stuff. I haven't gotten to go into anything yet, and hopefully time here soon to eventually hopefully here down the line maybe have another special, but fingers crossed.
All right, this has been Ruckus and the Menace podcast, episode number 10. Signing out. I'm Ruckus.
And I'm Spinnis the Menace.
We'll
Have a
see
good one, y'all.
y'all in another week or so, depending on the circumstances. We'll keep you updated. Have a good night. Have a good day. Just keep on keeping on.
Have a good one, y'all.